Black Clover quickly became one of my favorite series in late 2019, and I think it was due to how very shonen its core was. Also, I was very interested in revisiting the series after the first disastrous 10 episodes. But some can stand out from others, and the first opening does have a deep place in my heart because, quite obviously, it was the first one I listened to. That being said, this video will take a deep dive into the elements and design choices that were selected for Black Clover Opening 1, Haruka Mirai. There will be spoilers. You have been warned. The opening begins with a group of grimoires spinning, with a tower letting in light as the backdrop, calling back to the first few episodes where children receive grimoires once they hit the age of 15. They all spin and pass each other until one opens, a black and ugly one, reminiscent of Asta's five-leaf grimoire. And the words shift and show all of the Magic Knight groups as it falls forward into a raven. A raven in some folklore represents magic presences around the subject, which can be shown to be Asta. As raven feathers fall and flutter away, they reveal Asta walking down a path triumphantly, like how he did after officially becoming a Magic Knight. We see him walk as ravens fly away from him, symbolizing how little magic power Asta really has. We also get a close look at Asta's green eyes, the color green representing nature, like Asta's very natural take to work and training. The color green also represents a balance in all things, like Asta's anti-magic sword that equalizes or balances all magic things to eventual zero. The shot freezes and Asta is solidified into the book, making history. A clever page turn reveals the title of the show and the episode. A transition later, and we are brought to a scene of Asta and Yuno standing back to back with red and green as their backgrounds, respectively. We see Asta's head rise upwards to the sky and Yuno's head fall downwards to the ground. This could show the nature of the pair, with Asta's rising optimism and Yuno's silent lone wolf archetype. The pair freeze and we see Asta shouting and rustling, and Yuno looking coldly towards the camera, more easy indicators towards their contrasting personalities. Next, we get a shot of Asta doing sit-ups frantically laying on a field of clovers. Suddenly, we see him open his eyes as he sees Yuno above him. This could demonstrate how Asta always looked up towards Yuno, both power-wise and literally. This emphasis we see on Asta training compared to Yuno's gifted, born with talent also suggests a nature versus nurture relationship. Finally, we notice Asta running up to keep up with Yuno as he floats away, referencing how in the early episodes Asta had to keep up with Yuno when handling his own abilities. The scene after, we are introduced to a city environment where we see Asta slide into view. Cleverly, or by dumb luck, Asta slides into view at the same angle as he was in the last scene. So if our eyes were on Asta in the last scene, we would need to reposition our eyes to notice Asta in the next scene. We see Asta avoid attacks narrowly and comically start running up the wall, suggesting the carefree and sometimes lighthearted nature of the show. He runs towards the camera, and the next shot we see him attempt to punch a hooded figure with merely his fists, referencing how he's always underestimating situations, because he isn't always the smartest man in the room, obviously. Next, we see the camera zoom out on Yuno's four-leaf grimoire as he summons a windbird that attacks the hooded figures in the city. Soon after this shot, we see Yuno willingly letting Asta fall to the ground, showing how he isn't afraid to let him fall into obscurity and never get up to the level that Yuno is at the moment. Another interesting pattern I noticed later on is that Yuno is always shown in the sky and never shown in any foreground or background that resembles land, possibly showing his affiliation with air and wind by his grimoire. On to the chorus! For the first shot of the chorus, we see the flag of the Black Bulls, the Magic Knight group that accepted Asta in. The flag also being torn suggests the ragtag nature of the group. This is the first shot to show that this is the most important Magic Knight group for our story, and that this chorus will mostly only feature on members of the Black Bulls. It soon zooms out to show Magna, Noelle, and Asta, who are pseudo-buddies in the first few episodes. It shows them all smiling as the singer for Kankaku Piero shouts out for them to go towards a distant future. We also see Magna's glasses shine, showing his not-so-slick personality and a quote-unquote badass nature. Afterwards, the camera pans out to a side shot of them on Magna's broomstick. Funny interjection, when the camera pans, we get to see a small shot of Noelle actually reacting to the camera shifting with a shocked and surprised expression on her face. Anyways, the shot shows them all riding on the broom, and Nero appears in the bottom right-hand corner and stares at the screen. This suggests how Nero acts very invasive throughout the show, and how she stares directly at the viewer, demanding attention, especially for later episodes and later arcs. A page turn later, and we come face-to-face with Yami, who turns to the left, relating to Yami's personality, who doesn't really revel in the spotlight and lets others take it. He also stares directly at his crew, showing his conserved passion to watch over them and protect them from danger. Let's go over each of these characters individually. The first one we see is Gauche. Gauche's serious face and relaxed arm in the waist suggest his aloofness and relaxed but ill-tempered personality when the moment arises. Next we see Luck. His joyful expression and messy hair conveys his excited nature and his disregard for his own state, which is present in his interactions and duels with always wanting to fight Magna throughout the show. Afterwards we see Vanessa. Vanessa's revealing clothes shows her enjoyment for not wearing any clothes at all, and the slight smile she has expresses warmness and kindness, a character that probably could be trusted. Then we see Grey all the way in the back. Grey's alternate form is shown in this opening, and it conveys her timidness to immediately show the viewer her true form in only the first opening. She's also hidden away in the back to show her scared nature and not wanting to show herself in the spotlight and in front of the camera. In front of Grey, we see a joyful Charmy, who barely makes it past the bottom of the camera due to her height. Her slight smile and downward sloping eyes conveys a feeling of warmth and caring for the viewer and for her comrades. After her, we can see Finral. From his appearance, we can see his bold green clothing, showing his importance and how he catches our eyes because of his use to the bulls and his strong color palette. The determined and slightly cruel happiness he shows on his face demonstrates his perverted yet kind demeanor that he regularly acts like. Finally, we see Gordon, who attempts to obscure his face with his hat and has a neutral expression. Between the happier, kind faces we see, this is a strong departure from the norm, and it makes us think that he's different or cruel from the others, when underneath the hat and appearance he is just as kind as everyone else. The camera goes downwards, and we are shown Noelle, who stands apart from the bulls because she feels out of place and not wanting to be with them at first in the first few episodes. The rain falling down symbolizes despair and being lost, which fits for Noelle's inability to use magic for the first few episodes. The shot zooms down to show her entire body as the rain freezes for a moment, symbolizing how her life came to a standstill when she realized she couldn't use magic. Afterwards, the camera changes to show Noelle's purple eyes. Purple, being a color of royalty and extravagance, fits Noelle's rich and pampered previous lifestyle. The tears she sheds fly upward to join into the massive bubble she creates in episode 7 of the anime. The tears joined together to form a collective could show how her grief and pain led her to surpassing her limits and moving forward. After that moment, we get a shot of all the Magic Knight captains and the Wizard King Julius, with relatively the most important captain showing up at the front and so on. At the end of the shot, we see the Wizard King looking over them, showing his tendency to watch and meddle with their affairs of others, mostly for comedic effect in the show. The half-dark, half-light effect on his face and the very neutral look on his face makes us doubt him and makes us fear him. This is done exactly like the show, which builds him up to be a villain, but fakes us out later on as being probably Asta and Yuno's closest ally. Final scenes of the opening, we see Asta summon his sword through his 35-leaf grimoire, reminding us how this entire journey even began in the first place. We then see him pull it out with both of his hands, conveying the weight of the weapon very effectively. Then we see his own reflection of the sword, showing his true colors through the dirty and massive blade he wields. Then, suddenly, he picks his sword up and slams it through the air, cutting away all of the dust, bringing purity and clarity to all around him, like the sword's intended anti-magic purpose. We then see one final shot of the sword, and then one shot of Asta looking at the sword that brought him throughout his journey, as the singer proclaims, just like the one page we had that day, "You and I met. Should I call this a fortune or miracle?" This part relating to the relationship with Asta and his anti-magic sword. Then the camera suddenly cuts to Yuno and Asta's fist bump, the rivalry that began their quest to become the Wizard King. Then a cool shard-like transition leads to a nice shot of Asta staring directly towards the camera and Yuno turning his back to look at Asta. As for the final shot for this entire opening, Asta's whole body's angled towards us and he smiles at us, showing that we know Asta and we know everything that's going through his head and how we follow him throughout the story, unlike the back-turned Yuno, who simply stares at Asta, showing how all we really know is that his story is somehow intertwined with Asta's. And as the shot freezes, Asta and Yuno are solidified into the history books of time. Man, analyzing this opening was a blast, I have to be honest. I love this opening with all my heart, because it got me to stick to the series and truly enjoy it to the fullest. As for the anime, I can't wait to see what it has in stock next, content-wise and opening-wise. I'm caught up with the manga. I just really hope it can keep this good story streak going. Well, I guess that's all, guys. See you in the next video, I guess. Like and subscribe if you can. See you guys later.